Report Story. Chapter 5. You mean to say, I'm dead. These are the words that leave her mouth when she talks to a man who spelled death all over his features. His long ebony-colored hair is lazily sprawled all over his head, but not enough to hide his face. His dark eyes look at her as if with very low intent and attention, the bags underscoring the tiredness of existence. Once during their brief talk, his dark pair of orbs get a crimson glow as his whole mass of hair rises in the air. The strands fall gracefully as his dark eyes return though. Speaking of darkness, even what he is wearing is an epitome of it. He wears a black cotton-in material, long-sleeved shirt that falls above his knees, along with those tattered ends. Then his pair of pants is just as black or darker if possible, the bottom part hidden inside his black boots. There is this bundle of gray straps resting on his shoulders around his neck, and she is not sure if that is meant to be a scarf or just his fashion sense. Regardless of her thoughts, the whole look matches his features despite the uniqueness of the getup. Is that kind of outfit weird? She asks in her mind. Just a while ago, she had a thought that it is not normal to wear something so dark and spooky on a daily basis. But now that she thinks about it, what is she actually talking about? Is there a certain style that should be worn? It feels like there is this certain norm that pushes her to have these thoughts, but when she tries to pick the knowledge in her brain, nothing comes out. She looks at her own outfit, which is totally plain compared to what he is wearing. Literally, she is just in a white robe with a string securing it around her waist. Just like everything else around her, the piece of clothing is not the least familiar. She does not even have anything covering her feet. It is, however, a deep contrast to what the man is wearing. But maybe she can only note this because she has no other point of comparison. Other than that, the brunette would have found herself frightened with every bit of this man standing before her, but for some reason, there is this sense of familiarity that she could not point on to. It is not like she has seen him before, right? Right now, it just seems that everything else is a blur in her mind. Yes. Just confirmed it. Wait, so you weren't sure a while ago? Her eyes go wider if possible, having the urge to scratch her head but abandoning the feeling. What is this man saying? Wasn't he the one who just appeared out of thick smoke and suddenly said, "Hey dead girl, time to go," to her? But she looks around. Everything is just blank. A blank of nothingness. No ends, no corners, no turns, no anything, just this white ground and white surroundings that seem to extend forever. Where is the light coming from? She doesn't know. Sounds. There are no natural sounds in the background too, just their voices echoing back to their ears. How about the temperature? She could not even tell if it is cold or warm even when she is wearing something so thin and is just barefoot. She thinks he popped out of nowhere, but isn't she the one who is not in where she is supposed to be? Where is she supposed to be anyway? But more importantly, where is she? Whoever comes here's dead for sure. Congratulations on getting here on your own. It would be a pain if I had to fetch you like the others. He may have greeted her a congratulations, but his tone is nowhere near that. Wait, are you sure? I don't even know why I'm here. She tries to rely on her memories again but finds nothing except for her name, Ochako Uraraka. Right, that's her name, at least she knows. But, promoted stories. You'll also like. Not all heroes wear capes. Some just have 8.42.9 K 1.4 kilo. Everybody. This is a suicidal depressed Deku book with Dadmik. Will their bond grow? Will Mike fuck up? Will Izuku try to kill himself? Find out yourself. Number 1 Radio. Feelings. Izawa. X-Reader 57.2K 1.3 KRE posting. This until I edit it, sorry if it's not good, it's my first time writing a story. You enroll at UA and you have multiple quirks you are really good at using, why? Finished. 28.4K 508 tilde he save all of them, just a smile plastered on his face before disappearing through the wind. Much needed love Yandere Succubus Momo X Izu, 51.7K 809 after Wattpad. Had decided to delete this story out of nowhere, I and many reader were distraught. So I'm making a remake of the story from the ground up to compensate. Convicted Hearts 3700 like my other story but ILI longer. Mirko X Shy Male Reader 172K 1.1 Key. Don't own MHA. I hope you enjoy the story I made. After all, Fluke 11.4K 802. Will edit once I'm free. This is a work of fiction, and any similarity with other works is purely coincidental. Excuse grammatical errors and misspellings, Eng. She bites her bottom lip. Does this mean she is really dead? But how can she even feel that she is when she has this consciousness now? How can she feel that she is dead when she does not even have proof that she was alive? Why is it that her mind is as blank as this place? He stares at her but she does not mind because there really is nothing here except for the two of them. She hears him sigh. Slowly, his hair starts to float again as his eyes turn red once more. Ochako Uraraka, 17, cause of death, saving a boy from falling. The man's long hair settles again over his shoulders as his eyes return to its original color as well. Ochako is still in the middle of confusion when in the blink of an eye, the man looks behind him and places his palm in the air. The supposed nothingness materializes a pathway made of white light that is probably brighter than the whole emptiness. He enters and glances back at her, waiting for her to follow. Maybe she should not have followed him blindly, but in a place where there is nothing, and for a girl who has nothing else in her mind, this is the only thing she can do. Her soul's tapping on the floor leaves echoes on the blankness as they disappear into the portal. Yes, you're dead, he states matter-of-factly, then adds, I only have to verify and give you details for formalities. It's seriously taking so much time. You done asking? You can just go outside and ask someone how things go around here, the man says and suddenly sleeps inside a coffin. Wait, Mr. Izawa. Ochako screams at the top of her lungs and runs to the coffin that just closed. She tries to knock on it but the man is not responding anymore. It seems that the afterlife is a much more colorful place than anyone would have imagined. For people who have yet to pass on after their death, this place called UA exists for them to find something that can fill their hearts and send them to heaven. Shota Izawa, who is one of the Grim Reapers who collects souls, explained that Yue is only for people who have regrets and have to constantly return to the human world until they are satisfied. However, returning is not as simple as it seems, as souls need to take different forms that they must choose. Ochako, who is just starting to realize that she really is dead despite not even knowing anything about her previous life, struggles in her very first steps to take in all this information. But Shota chooses sleep over her concerns, saying that he has been working overtime lately. Mr. Izawa. She tries again and still no response as her eyes stare at the note, "Working hours over," on the coffin lid. She sighs. He did say that she could go outside. So maybe she should do that. After following the man inside Yue, she is brought to the supposed collections office where Reapers reside for the briefing of new souls and other collection services. And while this is a briefing, she did not know that it was going to be a really brief discussion with barely any other details other than a confirmation that she is dead, what this place is, and what happens in here. Ochako then opens the door of Shota's silent office, only to be overwhelmed with the sight of a crowd of people. Or ghosts. Undead. What should she call them anyway? Lots of voices are speaking on phones, while some are passing papers and having meetings. She tries to approach someone who is probably a Reaper too, judging by the similarity of clothes to Shota's, but he ends up dashing off, large steps striding away. Looks like everyone here is really busy. It is pretty difficult to just interrupt them. Eyebrows furrowed, the lass walks around and looks around. The place is not just filled with Reapers. There are different kinds of people or creatures in here. Some have pointed ears, some have horns, and some even have wings of different kinds. Everyone sports different skin colors and eye colors. As she continues to check everything out while walking, she fails to see someone coming her way. Awa! Gah! The bump makes her bounce back by a few steps, surprised with the impact. Regaining her balance after, she blinks and immediately says, "So sorry." A pair of red eyes meet her brown ones, but the color is much more intense than that of Shota's reds. And these pair are not glowing but are more menacing if she can describe it in a word. The lad she had bumped to has spiky blonde hair, a sharp set of teeth that she could see when he is clenching it, and a pair of furry ears on top of his head. Has she seen him somewhere before? Stop spacing out in a fucking busy place. Why yes, sorry, she manages despite trembling at the lad's powerful roar. The blonde leaves stomping and goes past her. She glances back and sees his tail steadily pointing upwards, hairs standing. He must be really pissed off at her. And here she was thinking that she could ask him, since he did not seem to be a Grim Reaper. He is more of a werewolf. Sighing once more, the girl continues her search, when something catches her eye. Amidst the sea of black wearing Reapers, something white stands out. Just by one of the walls of the office, she sees a figure with a white cloth all over their body starting from the head. On a closer look, the white cloth is still not as plain as her robe, as it has patches of yellow and purple stitched onto it. The figure has a small black hat with an orange ribbon wrapped around it, resting atop its head. It's wearing a green and white striped bow tie centered by a small pumpkin pin, but instead of serving as a decoration, its purpose is more of to keep the cloth together. Excuse me. The figure does not answer, but she tries again. Excuse me, she says again, louder this time, and the figure finally turns to her, though she still could not see any face under that cloth. Well, almost. The oddest thing is that to probably make up for its lack of facial features, there is a smiley face embroidered with black threads into the cloth. Or is it its face? Oh, you were talking to me. So sorry. Did you need something? This time she smiles, confirming that there is someone underneath. Finally, someone she can talk to, a boy if her ears are correct in judging. Sorry to bother you. It's just that I don't really know what to do. The white figure introduced himself as Deku, and while he is inside the collection office, he is not part of it. Rather, he just wanted to consult something with one of the Reapers, but somehow, a lot of people think of him as an assistant by now because of his regular visits. I see. Mr. Izawa is really like that, since he does a lot of the collecting, and it can really make him exhausted. Sorry, you had to go through that, he says now that they are seated on one of the benches in the waiting area. No, it's fine. I don't really know exactly what's going on around here. She lets her fingers crumple the hem of her robe, then continues, but I realized that this place is this busy because someone dies all the time. Maybe with barely anything to spot in her memories, she tries to sympathize with the many souls that also lose their ways. Reapers are this busy because there could be a lot of souls just wandering around. She remembers Shota's words that she somehow found herself in that white place earlier on her own. At least she is here now and not that endless nothingness. The lad beside her probably reacted, but she could not tell, especially when she literally cannot see his face and form with that white cloth atop him. Instead, her stares are only welcomed by that permanently stitched black smiley face. A part of her is eager to just pull the clothing off to see what is underneath, but aside from the action being rude, she is not sure if she is prepared to see what could be hidden. She jolts though, then says, "Oh sorry. You must be busy too, and I just called on you and started ranting." Deku jolts back as well, but seems to be in a panic as his gloved hands wave in front of him, and makes her think, oh, he had arms and hands underneath. No, it's fine. I totally understand what it feels like to be lost. I guess I kinda got nostalgic all of a sudden. His tone seems to be in a mix of sadness and gratefulness. Since she cannot see his expression, she relies a lot on his tone and thinks that it leans more on sorrow with how low it sounds. He stands up though and says, "But don't worry. Because Mr. Yagi is here. He can definitely help you. I was waiting for him too when you found me. We can wait for him together." His hands are now forming fists by his chest, and despite the lack of facial expressions, she could tell that he seems to be really happy and excited. She somehow smiles. Maybe in the world of the dead, she did not expect someone to be this happy. Ever since she arrived here, the only ones she had interacted with are Shota and that grumpy werewolf, who did not seem to have any ounce of happiness in them. Ironically, someone whose real face is hidden is showing much more delight more than anyone in this world. Okay, thank you, Mr. Deku. No, You can just call me Deku, Ms. Uraraka. Hehe, but you were the one who started calling me Ms. Uraraka. Thought I should return the favor, she returns with a bit of a tease. Fine. You Uraraka. Okay, Deku. Ho ho ho. Welcome to UAA, young Ochako, says a man who is all muscular. His hair is golden, with the fringe standing up to form a V shape. His eyes are barely visible because of the intense shadows, but his smile is even brighter than his hair. It somehow eases her. His muscular form stands out in his fitted black suit. The name Toshinori Yagi is placed on the table of his office. And just like Shota, there is also that sense of familiarity in this man. This is Mr. Yagi, Uraraka, one of the Reapers of UA, Deku introduces, his gloved hands presenting the very man, who suddenly shrinks as blood spills from his mouth. Ochako does not know how to react properly, but she immediately runs to him with Deku screaming in the background. Wow, what did just happen? Sorry. The man, who is now as thin as bones, says, his suit almost falling from his suddenly narrow shoulders. Deku hands him a handkerchief which he uses to wipe the blood on his mouth. Got a lot of work today, young ones. Are you okay? Ochako asks. Sorry you had to see that. But don't worry, this man has all the might in this world. He says, and even though his muscular form is gone now, Ochako still feels that power inside of him. A man who literally spills blood but still smiles at her feels stronger than anyone. Before entering the office and the arrival of this man in front of her, Deku had mentioned that Toshinori is a Reaper who saves. Though he is like Shota, the main difference is that the blonde focuses on saving souls that are about to be dragged to hell. Their conversation was cut short though, so Ochako did not know anything else anymore, but seeing this man now in such a state makes the tone of Deku's voice have a lot of sense. She feels that she is lucky to have just found her way in spite of not knowing anything else. After Toshinori recovers, he says, "Hope you'd be fine to see this skull and bones form. For now I'll just need some rest. Please feel free. I don't mind," she replies to the man, who smiles at her, noticing that his hair is now falling to the sides of his face. This form is not so bad. His gentle side is much more emphasized. So Deku mentioned what happened. "First of all, I just wanna say that you can take your time. Everyone who enters UA has no memories. Everyone starts at zero, so there's no rush. To be honest, a lot of the souls take a while to realize that they are really dead. If I may ask, how are you on that?" Ochako nods. "It's pretty hard to tell since I'm not even sure if I was alive. I guess I really want to know to get to know my past first. I wonder if that's possible." Well, lucky for you, because that is in fact, UA exists mostly for that. You are right on wanting to know your past, and Izuocha mentioned that this place is for people who could not pass on right. Yes, and there was something about choosing forms. Correct. Unfortunately, choosing a form is something that you have to do by yourself. As Reapers, we only really guide and bring the souls here. However, this is really your lucky day. He announces and stands up behind Deku. Placing both of his large hands on his small shoulders, he smiles wider if possible. Deku, my boy here, will be guiding you. The boy squeaks. I'm really sorry, Deku. No, I'm sorry if it came across like I didn't like to do this. I was just surprised. Ochako looks at Deku who is walking beside her. Toshinori had assigned him to help her choose her form and just get the hang of this world. She was hoping to get her questions answered in meeting the man, and while some of her curiosity was fulfilled, it wasn't enough yet. And he did say that she should be the one to choose her form. But how? So, how do things work around here? According to Deku, unlike the human world, Yue is only filled with souls, so there is no need for sleep or rest. There is no physical body that should be watched. Though Reapers are different, since they spend a lot of time jumping from different realms, their forms take a toll, just like how Shota and Toshinori need the rest they can get. But don't worry too much. Both Mr. Yagi and Mr. Aizawa recover energy once they are back here in UA. All Reapers do just that, they spend most of their time out of here, he adds. Deku continues walking with Ochako following beside him. He really did not tell her where they are going, but they are about to exit the large collections office. Time also passes differently in this world, he starts talking again. As Ochako has noticed, it is always sunset. The lights are always leaning into that mixture of orange and indigo from the windows, but now that they just opened the door to the outside, she could see the sun still kissing the horizon just like when she had arrived earlier. Sunsets last briefly in the human world, but here in UA, it is the only thing you'll see. I hope you get used to it, Deku says as she listens more to him. Outside the collections office is a wider world. There are different buildings and crowds of more colorful people. She had seen this earlier when she followed Shota, but now that she takes the time to look around more and not focus on getting her questions answered, she realizes just how big this world really is and how many souls are in here. In UA, it seems that no one really has a deadline. Only the Reapers have a sense of urgency as they have to fetch the souls as fast as they could. There are also Reapers who focus on retrieving wandering souls for many years, especially those that are too attached to the human world. Ochako is amazed at the boy's knowledge as well as the sight before her. Though the collections office had different kinds of creatures in there, outside there are more than she has seen. Are these the forms that souls use to go back? Yes. There are vampires, demons, mummies, zombies, werewolves, or others. You can really choose to be anything in here. I'm not sure if you can remember, but humans refer to those as supernatural creatures. And well, some think they are fictional, but truth is, these creatures are actually just forms that the dead choose to in order to get back to that world. I see, but why are they here in UA? Like why are they not in the real world to revisit? Deku lifts a finger. Well, we can't have an entire population of souls going back, right? It will definitely be too crazy in the human world. So the forms are also like limits. For example, a werewolf can only come to the human world when it's the full moon. Speaking of werewolves. Yeah, I think I just met a werewolf earlier, a scary one too. Ochako says while looking up to try and remember, not noticing the tension on Deku's shoulders. Oh. That must be Kachan. Ka. Cchan. Him. He's always at the collections office since he wants to be a Grim Reaper. Souls can be Grim Reapers. She asks, bewildered. She thought Yue is supposed to be a place to guide the souls to heaven. But wouldn't choosing the path of a Reaper bind them to this world and to the job of being one? Yes, Kachan is amazing. He was already accepted to heaven, you know, he says, and she could hear a bit of a chuckle at the end of his sentence. Then why is he here? Well, he said it was boring there. This time, she really hears him laugh as his figure shakes a bit. One day after his soul ascends to heaven, he came back here complaining in the collections office, saying that he didn't spend years trying to get to know his past in the human world every month, just to be transported to a boring perfect world. No way. Well, that's Kachan for you. Ochako looks at Deku and she is not sure where this thought came from. But still, maybe it is worth a try to tell him. Maybe because her mind is like a blank canvas right now, it is easier to just interpret this person she has been talking to for hours already. Say, I'm just guessing, but you want to be a Grim Reaper too, don't you? And the boy falls in the middle of his step, red shoes bending, his figure then planking flat on the floor. Deku, she screams and helps him get up. Some steps later, Deku has been silent ever since she had mentioned that, and she does not know if what she had said was offending or not. She bites her lip. All this time, he has been really kind to her and has helped her way around here. But it's just that he seems to know a lot of things in this world, to the point that a Reaper asked him to guide her. Is it wrong for her to bring up something she has observed? Just as she is about to apologize, the words, "I'm sorry," is heard between the two of them, but this voice came from him. No, I should be the one who is sorry. I must have said something wrong. She sees his hand scratch his head underneath the cloth. Uraraka, you're right. I want to be a Reaper. That's why I'm always in the collections office, just observing everything. They reach a place that seems to be like a park. There is a fountain at the middle, the clear water reflecting the orange light, little droplets of the said color spraying to the air. It's like a collection of small glass beads is being tossed, tiny sparkles being sprinkled by weight. She sees him drag his feet near that fountain as she follows him. The color of the sunset is also reflected on his white cloth. Too bad the light is not enough to get through the cloth for her to see even a bit of how he looks like under. I told you that Mr. Yagi saves souls, right? I was one of those souls. You see, there are creatures who forcefully drag souls to hell even if they aren't supposed to be there. When a person dies, not only Reapers are after its soul. There are angels who immediately cast light on those that are brought to heaven upon death. The sinful ones are immediately brought to hell. However, there are souls that do not belong to either heaven or hell. That's why Yue is here for them. How come they do not belong to heaven or hell? She manages to ask because that means she belongs to this category. What is she really like in the past? While she hopes to be in the good, a state of lack of memory is not really helping her know herself. Deku sits on the grass just near the fountain as Ochako does the same. Some die too young to actually be judged for their deeds. Some are unable to fulfill what their life's purpose is to be, so they also cannot be judged. But most of the time, it's because someone just is not fit being an ultimate good or being an ultimate evil. She looks at him and somehow wishes that she could really see his face just to know what kind of expression he is wearing right now. Though he seems enthusiastic in being a reaper, sometimes, he just has this really sad tone once in a while that just sings with his voice. "I wonder why I'm here then," she says, not noticing his flinch. She really does wonder though, as she adds, "I hope I was a good person." "Say, Uraraka, do you know why you died?" "Ah yes. Mr. Izawa mentioned I saved someone from falling." A pause of silence envelops them and Ochako is not sure if he heard her reply or he is just thinking. "Deku. Are you okay?" Another pause. Something is wrong and Ochako is not so sure what to say anymore, but she inches closer to him, pokes a finger to his shoulder, and when his head turns to her, she gives him one of her brightest smiles. "You know, I really don't know what you look like. But I think you look really sad now, so I'll smile in your place. I hope everything gets better." It takes a while for him to respond, but at least he talks again. "Don't you hate that boy? The one that you saved?" At first, she is taken aback, not really expecting the question. After all, she is not sure how to hate someone she does not remember. But if it's because she died because of saving someone, she doesn't think she would still hate him. "Nah." She waves a hand in front of her, between them. "I just hope that boy is safe now and is happy wherever he is." They reach another building which is the total opposite of the collections office. Instead, it looks like a shop of costumes. Ochako asks, "Well, you see, in choosing forms, you'll need costumes." Wow, that's what she thinks. And here she is expecting that the forms are like transformations of some kind. The building is filled with different kinds of clothing, ranging from regular dresses to flashy ones with feathers, glitters, and well, almost everything that is beyond description. Her eyes fall on one particular dress from the glass though. Despite the many collections inside, this one just stands out for her. It is an orange top with puffed sleeves and red ruffled pipings, with a black corset skirt hugging it, ending in more ruffles. There is also this crooked yet pointy black hat right next to it, which she thinks suits the overall look. She does not really know what her personality is, but she starts to think that maybe she liked this kind of clothing when she was alive. But, of course, that is just a guess. Shall we go in? Oh, okay. Twin bells ring upon entering and a woman with spiky black hair tied in a high ponytail welcomes them with a smile. Bright red is painted on her lips while a fang slips through in her smile. She is wearing this long-sleeved dress as if she is going to be dancing at a ball. The color matches her hair, with scarlet ribbons gracing the corset and her chest. A black choker with a ruby in the middle is around her neck. Ochako almost hears some fancy music playing in the background just at the sight of her. Ms. Yaoyorozu, I brought someone. Nice to meet you, I'm Ochako Uraraka, she bows to the woman. Welcome to the shop, you too. I am Momo Yaoyorozu and it is a pleasure to meet you, Ms. Uraraka. I have everything in here but I am guessing you already have your eyes set on something, right? Ochako blinks. How do you know? It is always like that. Reapers bring souls here to choose the basic of their forms. So which one do you like? She smiles, leaning forward and Ochako finds herself suddenly shy. She is not even sure why she had picked that one particular dress. Did that one, she says and points with a shaking finger as an urge to hide her face crawls up to her cheeks. Okay, you got it. Without further ado, Momo escorts the shy and surprised Ochako inside for the fitting while Deku remains at the counter. Is this really fine? Maybe I should choose something else. Ochako, who is already used to being barefoot, feels a certain awkwardness looming on her feet, almost missing the feeling of the ground against her skin as she now wears a pair of high dark boots. Nonsense. Everyone who passes by here immediately reacts to what they want to be. This is why souls are brought here all the time. No need to be so shy, Ms. Uraraka, Momo says and pulls her out of the fitting curtains to the mirror. The smile does not leave her lips but Ochako still couldn't shake off the embarrassment. Dangling earrings that look like small globes of water hang from her ears, sparkling with light hitting it. A brown choker is settled around her neck with a star pendant shining and swinging with every movement. Its gold buckle also shining. As Ochako sees her reflection, she stares at herself, unbelieving, and pulls the pointy hat to hide her face. She did not think that the corset would be that fitted around her waist. The orange top also reveals more skin than she had anticipated. No, this is way too embarrassing. I'd just wear that white robe forever. Despite the protests, the smiling Momo just pulls Ochako out to where Deku is, the sounds of clumsy tapping filling the shop. She looks great, does she not, Deku? Tell her with me since she does not seem to believe so. Deku immediately stands from his seat as Ochako refuses to face him. She looks down, some pink dusting her cheeks. Oh, how does it look? The boy places his gloved hands in front of his mouth above the cloth. Ochako guesses. Why, you look great, Uraraka. Momo, who is just watching the two beams at the both of them, refusing to break the good atmosphere. The bells ring and the door of the shop opens as the three heads turn to a boy with his hair parted to a portion of snowy white and portion of fiery red. Both white and red strands of his hair are brushed up as a scar is evident on his left eye. His hands are holding onto the cape just around his neck. Yaoyorozu, I need a repair on my cape. Just like with Momo earlier, Ochako could almost hear that fancy music playing too as she observes his white dress shirt, under a red vest with golden chains adorning it. He has a black tie around his neck, with a golden brooch in the middle. While his black pants are simple enough, the shiny black shoes complete his overall look of prominence and even wealth. When he opens his mouth, she also notices a pair of fangs peeking. Todoroki, Deku acknowledges. Hey, Deku. The man who maintains this calm expression nods at him to acknowledge him back. Momo approaches him and says, "Okay, leave it to me," as he pulls the string of the cape around his neck, folds the black piece, and hands it over to her. The man called Shoto Todoroki then looks at Ochako, who is equally staring at her. His different colored pair of eyes fall on her, but his expression barely changes. Instead of talking to her though, he turns to Deku and says, "Hey, she's the girl who saved you, right? You finally met her, huh?" Also calmly. As Deku freezes in place, Momo sighs, placing a hand on her forehead, while Ochako watches. I'm so sorry. Deku bows as Ochako maintains her silence. They are back to that park that is near Momo's clothing shop, which does not charge anything though. Do not get her wrong, it is not that she is mad at him. It's more of she does not know how to respond to the new information she had just received. And the blunt way it was brought up also adds to that surprise factor in her. However, she does not notice that every second she spends more on entertaining her thoughts rather than expressing them, makes the panic in the lad next to her increase at a frightening speed. This time, he comes in front of her and kneels with both his hands on his thighs, as he sits on his back legs in crimson shoes. "I'm really sorry for not telling you anything," he says, and once again his back bends to the front and bows to her sitting figure on the grass. As he stays in the position, she hears him breathe deep. Though time stretches differently here in UA. "I could tell that I've been here for more than a year," he starts saying. It seems that Deku did not just fall. In the human world, he was trying to stop a hostage scene that happened in their school, but the hostage taker with no mercy pushed the young boy from the top of their school's building. However, one of his classmates ran on time to try and pull him. And while she succeeded in pulling his weight and saving him, the criminal kicked her already struggling figure. It was not just one who fell during that incident. It consisted of two students named Izuku Midoriya and Ochako Uraraka, who were found to have their hands clasped until the end. However, Izuku was not lucky enough to survive the fall. Ochako, meanwhile, was in limbo when her body was in a coma. A year after, her body gave up and now she is here in UA. Izuku sits straight and slowly pulls the cloth upward as the orange light touches his features. He reveals himself to be a lad with freckled cheeks, with big emerald eyes, almost as big as hers, and a whole mess of green hair that curls to all directions. His eyes refuse to meet hers as he just looks at his shaking fists. "When I died, Mr. Yagi saved me from being dragged to hell. At that time, like you, I also didn't know what was happening. But he saved me and my consciousness revolved on trying to be someone like him," he says. He tries to look at her, but he lowers his eyes again, still fearful. "Since I was always sticking to him, they branded me as an assistant, though I'm not really a Reaper, and he kindly taught me many things about being one, which really helped me cope with this world. But the longer I stayed here, the more things I had to know, and that included things that are not part of this world." Izuku pauses to breathe before he picks up talking again. When I got my form as a ghost, I came back to the human world several times and slowly figured out why I couldn't pass on I wanted to apologize to you. Several times. If I wasn't trying to be the hero that I wasn't, I wouldn't have dragged you. Souls can try to convey different messages in the human world, but because you were in a coma, I couldn't do anything, even something as simple as an apology. Unknown to Izuku, the moment he removed that piece of clothing, Ochako started getting different flashes of the past in her mind. Her mind that she once called a blank canvas is slowly filling in images where she and Izuku spent time laughing in what seemed to be their school uniforms. She could not understand the images, but most of them were happy ones, just snaps of spending time with this green-haired boy. It does not match the current expression on his face. Now that she can finally see him, why is he wearing that kind of face? I wanted to be a Grim Reaper. But part of the reason was I wanted to meet you again. He manages, but his voice is on the verge of failing to sound firm. When you came earlier, time stopped for me, though I told you that this world has no sense of time. I saw you again, with your eyes looking at me speaking again. I was so happy I couldn't speak. But it also dawned on me that, it's your soul that is talking. You've passed away. I was waiting for you, but, that meant that you aren't alive anymore and it was all my fault. His eyes start to be filled with tears as he tries to fight them from falling, but lowering his head makes the gravity pull these tears fall to his clenching hands. In the end, you also came here. And it was all my fault. And I couldn't apologize. Even if I can talk to you again, I can't apologize. When I was looking at you, I thought, it would be better if you didn't remember anything. His tears and shaky voice get interrupted as she places her hands on his cheeks, which squeezes his mouth in the process. He blinks at her, the tears falling more. Stop it, Deku. Her eyebrows are meeting together in an upset expression. Her lips are almost pouting while he just stares at her. I don't want to forget about you. But, he succeeds in saying, despite the difficulty in talking when she is pressing his cheeks like that. I still can't remember everything. But you know, even if I can't, it makes me happy to meet you here. Don't you think it's like fate? Of all people whom I can meet here, I still met you here. Even if you waited for me, there are a lot of souls in here. But I still met you and I am so glad that you're okay. Indeed, all this time that they had been talking, she could hear the delight in his voice. If she had saved him and he has found happiness in wherever he is, that makes her be happy for him. I've been wanting to see how your face looked like and I was hoping to see you smile. She says and smiles at him. He has been going through so much just by keeping all of those regrets in him. I don't hate you. He bursts into tears, but a smile is also on his face. Ironically, despite the crying, she knows that he is happy. Thank you. He sniffs in between his crying. You're so ugly, ha ha ha. Oh, you chose to be a witch in form. Good choice, it suits you. Toshinori says, already back to his muscular form, while Ochako smiles at him. And it seems that my boy has finally shown his true self too. He pats Izuku's shoulder, who is out of his white cloth costume and is just in a simple white polo shirt and green pants. The lad just nervously smiles at him, but his lips twitch. The swollen eyes must hurt, Ochako thinks as she observes him. He had cried so hard earlier, after all. Toshinori smiles so big at the two and elbows the little man beside him. He keeps on wearing that lame costume. I'm so glad he's finally out of it. Ochako giggles, but that makes her wonder now that he had brought it up. Oh right, why is he wearing that white cloth, she asks. Izuku had revealed that his ghost form allows him to slip through mirrors during evenings in the human world, but he did not use that cloth at all. He didn't reveal the reason for wearing it though. The blond man laughs so hard that it roars inside his office. It was to prepare for your arrival, lass. Mr. Yagi. Izuku whines as red paints his entire face. Without that costume on, Ochako is not used to seeing that kind of reaction from him. But what is Toshinori saying? The man just ruffles Izuku's messy hair, ignoring his protests. Ochako stares at him, waiting for him to continue. He has told me many stories about you, you know. Every time he visits the human world. Yes, young Midoriya, calm down, he says as he continues to pat the young boy who is trying to stop him with a growing scarlet in his face. What does he say? Ochako asks. Nothing. That is Izuku, while Toshinori pushes him away effortlessly in his current form and inches near the girl. He keeps on saying that you look so cute though you are sleeping and he wishes you'd wake up soon. Ain't he sweet? Toshinori is clearly amused. Now it's her turn to share the warm shades of embarrassment on her cheeks. Mr. Yagi. What? She deserves to know these things. Oh, and young Uraraka, because of that cloth, you couldn't see his face when he talks to you. Good thing I have clear vision that can see through it. Ho ho ho, you should have seen how tensed he is. I mean, I can't blame him. You get to see the girl you're in love with again, after all this time. I in low love. Mr. Yagi. Dakun. Izuku calls his bespectacled friend as they are both doing some jogging that evening. It is one of those rare occasions when Izuku invites his friend out, especially when they usually conduct separate training. Yes, Midoriya-kun. Haha, have you ever been in love? Izuku continues jogging but covers his face with his hands. That is dangerous. Eyes on the way, Midoriya-kun. Tenya reprimands, which pushes Izuku to do so despite that redness on his face. He bites his lips trying to suppress himself from hiding again. To answer your question, I have yet to feel that way at all. Why do you ask? No particular reason, Izuku says as he suddenly dashes past him at an incredible speed that the confused Tenya had to use his quirk just to follow him. No way. He could not tell even his closest friend that deep inside him, that maybe, he really is in love with Ochako and that maybe, he has just been denying it all this time when he has a lot of things happening around him. At first, he is scared that the dreams may be messing with his mind, but maybe, it is his mind's way to just let him think about it consciously. On the other hand, At the dinner table, the girl in question spaces out. The dreams are not stopping, and maybe it is time to just get used to it. At least it is not as realistic as the others she has had before. It is not that difficult to know that it is really a dream. Seeing Izuocha-sensei as a reaper is pretty fun though, and Momo and Shoto as wealthy vampires seem spot on. She almost laughs, if only she is not thinking of something else. Ochako-chan, I brought some snacks, want some? That is Suyu who approaches her. Thanks, she smiles and looks at the green jelly. The brunette clears her throat and hopes that the forming warmth on her cheeks and ears will go down too. Something wrong. Ochako stares at the color green that resembles Izuku's eyes more than the green of Suyu's hair. Hee, nothing. I just thought the jelly looked like Deku-kun's eyes or something. It must be nice if the boy you're in love with is also in love with you, she says in her mind, remembering what All Might said in her dream. Chapter 6. Puffing out a shallow breath back and forth, she lets her legs run to the best of her abilities that night. Unlike most of her missions in which she relies on stealth and light movements, right now, she got caught in a trap set up by someone who just outwitted her. Almost cursing under her breath, she continues running to the darkest and narrowest of alleyways that allow herself to squeeze into. This is bad usually. When she schedules an infiltration and robbery mission, no one ever catches her. Of the many tasks she has accepted and successfully done, nothing is this carefully planned and meticulously ironed in just catching her. The timing of the alarms and the lax security almost fooled her, but things were too fishy. She knew she had to back out. She bites her lip, ignoring the pain throbbing in as she runs to the end of the current backstreet she is in. Whoever is after her is someone she cannot underestimate. Ochako reaches the end, and when she does, she immediately stops at the sight of thin iron strings set up in a crisscross. If she had proceeded even by a hair, she would have ended up grazing her skin with ugly cuts, or worse, even the possibility of having severed parts if she was not careful. Judging by the glint on the strings, it is too sharp to simply avoid. Going through would be too risky, she concludes. She swallows. This person even got one of her best escape routes, which is well hidden from any possible light. TCH. She steps back and feels the presence of a person that her back slightly hits. Eyes widening, she is about to step away when his gloved hands make way to her face, his index finger and thumb digging into her cheeks. She could feel the rest of his fingers settle under her chin. Well, aren't you a pretty face? We wouldn't want that skin to bleed, won't we? When his voice enters her ears, she feels chills running across her body until the tips of her fingers. What an icy sharp voice. She decides to look straight at him with his emerald green eyes meeting her brown ones. The glow in them has an evil gleam that she is the most familiar with. This person has killed many. She cannot step backward, not when she knows the strings are just there waiting for her to make a mistake. In the world of criminals, life is nowhere as important as the call of money. Killing is like breathing. This is something she has learned upon entering this world as a young one. Who are you? What do you want? What cliché questions? Anything else you wanna ask? He smiles at her oh so gently that it makes her shudder a bit in the inside. His dark green curly locks of hair is brushed up on one side, revealing more that freckled face of his. She could not see anything else other than him when his fingers are directing her to look at only him. Let go. Just a few words, but she matches that heavy stare that he has on her with a desire to be freed. Her fringe shadows a bit of her eyes as she scrunches her forehead and she lowers her head a bit. She hates anything related to bloodshed, but there is no way that she would back down in exchange of her own. She never killed anyone with her own hands in her pursuit of money and treasures, but her actions may have driven people to ending their lives. This time, she might need to hurt someone who stands in her way. I like that expression. His smile goes. His smile goes wider. Ochako Uraraka is known as the Criminal Nine, a lone thief who targets many auction pieces and treasures and leaves the scene with 9 pieces of fake gemstones every time. Though she did not come up with such nickname, the authorities and the heroes had to give her an alias after the many stealing incidents and found that habit of hers their basis. She likes it though. The only reason why she chose the quantity 9 is that at the age of 9, she lost her parents, her home, and probably her remaining goodness. At that age, she had to live for no one but herself because no one in this world ever helped her. At 9 years old, she is already a criminal, part of the rats of society who slowly but surely made her way up in the dark side with her own hands. At the age of 9, she took it to the next level by using her quirk to stealing much more precious treasures rather than just stealing food for her stomach. With that light touch of her hand and fingers, she can make anyone fall to that of poverty and shame. She may say that the habit has no particular reason at all, but maybe, just maybe, she is doing this for people to never forget her. Maybe, she is also doing this for herself, so she would never forget all the hardships she had gone through. Now at 19, no one else still knows what she looks like despite her involvements in robberies of both small-time and high-key personalities. How many heroes has she escaped from? Too many to count. She is that good and she knows no fear. Not in this world that has already abandoned her. Not even this man, a killer, can stop her years of experience and expertise in getting away. No matter how many he has killed, someone like him cannot stop her. He has no idea what kind of hell she went through just to be able to live. The Auburn carefully moves her gloved hands to grab for that dagger tied to her thigh. Just a swing is enough and she can get out of his grasp. He may have had set all those traps, but this does not mean she cannot fight him head on. To be honest, she would have preferred to use her quirk on him, but she had to wear the gloves for this mission to avoid fingerprint marks, and removing it would take time and attention. There is also a chance that he does not know her quirk at all, so she better be careful at keeping it a secret. As her hand gets closer and closer to that awaiting blade, the man speaks, "Nah, if I were you." She almost gasps as her hand flinches and stops. He inches closer to her and this time he lets his eyes focus on hers. I like that expression on your face too. What a wicked smile that does not match his gentle features at all. Again, what do you want? She still fights him, the courage in her returning despite being found out. There, milady. No need to be so feisty. Was only playing, he says, and all she wants is to rub that smile off his face already. He brings his hands off her, raises it up high along with his other as if surrendering, but she knows better. Milady. She looks at him with disgust. Now that he is farther from her, she gets to see him more. A white dress shirt under a black vest, and a red slim tie. The darkness does not hide that he looks pretty neat, no creases at all, as if each inch of his clothing is ironed out, much like a gentleman. But again, she knows better. She keeps her guard up, hands threatening to get near the blade as she bends forward with her other arm just by her chest. Okay, my hands are up here. Just listen. I won't hurt you, I promise. He closes his eyes, offers a carefree smile, and starts pacing slowly to his sides and nowhere near her. But still, she watches him intently, each step and each movement. From time to time, she lets her eyes glance at the sides to see where she could possibly escape to, but in the dark of night, with his traps almost everywhere that even she may not know, she cannot move an inch without a careful assessment. She is clearly in a tight spot. Pausing on his steps, he opens one green eye at her, brings his lips a bit forward for what seems to be a pout. Ah, you're still not letting your guard down. Planning to escape. What a shame, really. That hurts. Get on with it. Any act will not faze her. Impatient, I see, but all right. He chuckles. I've been wanting to meet you all this time to make a proposal, you know, villain to villain. Interested. Ochako looks at him, trying to understand where this is coming from. While she really cannot decipher this man before her, she also cannot be at ease and be confident in her abilities to escape. He had set up all the traps in that establishment that she has been targeting, and though she escaped, she still fell to his trap. He is a formidable villain, she must admit. What proposal? Oh good, you're listening. That makes me so glad. He claps his hands and brings it in front of his mouth. How about we play a little game with heroes and authorities? Deku, that is how he introduced himself, and she had found the name quite odd. It meant being useless, which was really weird for a name. Of course, she knows that to not be his real one, but when one chooses a name for himself, something for others to call him, why use something like that? Wouldn't a person normally, especially a villain, choose something that just sticks? Something that makes this mark that can already cause one to have chills upon hearing. That is his choice though. Besides, it is not like she had to know his real name. They are only partners in this little game of connivance. He, however, had asked for her real name, which she, obviously, rejected. Saying that he respects her decision, he allows himself to call her his milady, much to her chagrin. From time to time, when they get to serious business, he would call her Nine. But whichever works. Both are definitely better than revealing her real name. She had forgotten her life when she was still Ochako Uraraka. Right now, she is just Nine, the lone thief, and she had agreed to work with Deku, the evil mastermind. I like to work around with my strings. He had told her, and she knew he was not only referring to his deadly iron strings but also to its more figurative meaning. He must have a lot of connections underground to be able to just pull those strings of his. According to him, he rarely steps into the front lines and much enjoys the comfort of sitting back in relaxation and waiting for his plans to unfold. All he does is give some nudges here and there as he words out, tapping some people or provoking them, driving all these things to one outcome: chaos. He allows the fascination of things falling apart fill him every time he succeeds, which is always. On a regular basis, Deku would just sit on his favorite chair, letting his figure sink to its comfort, as he grabs a book and enjoys a cup of tea. Now, we wait, he would say. Ochako may not admit openly, but he is really someone impressive, especially after she found out that he had caused some of the incidents that shook the pro-hero world all these months. He had caused panic all over, and yet, here he stays in the dark, unmoving. Though he has not touched the topic of ending lives, she could still sense that he has in the past killed people. No one who has not killed someone with his own hands can have that pair of eyes. He probably did it to get to where he is right now, and no, she does not judge him. How can someone with sticky fingers judge someone with bloodied ones when both are still against humanity's rules? They are still on the same boat. They are both criminals. Her only concern is to not be fooled by him at any moment. She refuses to be wrapped around his finger. She had met him several times as they slowly piece out each phase of the plan. Surprisingly, they turn out to be a great match so far, she thinks. He is a real master planner, each detail pointing and leading to another. Like a domino, each step falls on the other, each step is an important piece. Even the possibility of failure is equally important. But it does not end to that. He is able to come up with more than 10 backup plans just in case. A part of her feels grateful that he is no enemy of hers. Perhaps that is one reason why she agreed to this deal. As a thief, all she really cares about is getting her cut when she used to take orders from some big bosses underground. But after getting tired of letting other people lead her life, she decided to go solo, and it felt much better. Truly better. However, this meeting with him surely reminds her that having someone be on the same page and just compliment your skills and back you up is always welcomed. Ochako still does not trust him, of course. They are only partners in this crime. It has been about 2 months since her very first meeting with Deku, and they had agreed for her to reside in his headquarters, which was remarkably really hidden. Even someone like her who is used to hiding and should know these points of the city is surprised how he is able to arm himself and at the same time build this base which had everything. Necessity, security, name it. Much to her protests, he had decided what she should wear too. Of course, she had the right to say no, in every way possible, but okay. Maybe she could not refuse when he said that, "These clothes suit you better," when he presented a white blouse and black skirt set, along with a crimson-colored tie. The set of garments incredibly matches his, but she would never bring that up. She'd just think of it as a uniform of this alliance. Deku had complimented how her body-tight black suit fitted her, way too perfectly that he could just stare all day, but said that it would be better to wear something different when she moves to his base. The remark had made her blush. He did not have to be so much of a flirt, but he still is, and she hates that part of him, or so she keeps on telling herself. Ochako would never admit what is constantly ringing in her mind. The young lady keeps on reminding herself that this is business, but meeting together for a couple of months almost every day incredibly changed a lot of things deep inside her. Now staying here for over 2 weeks keeps on changing more parts of her as each day passes. Once again, she is reminded of what it feels like to be with someone. Though they are both villains and just treat everything else as a partnership, Deku has treated her more than a partner. She is the only one who tries to keep it the way it is. Yet she knows how much she is failing already. She had always considered all of these as part of the said partnership. But this base is not just a mere base. He had welcomed her to it as his home. Their home, he had teased. Their meetings always turned to shared meals, and he refuses to eat alone or to let her eat alone. Though most of their conversations revolve around getting the heroes and just making the whole government nuts, the little things that he does to her are things that start to place something different in her chest. Ochako noticed that Deku likes touching. Their very first meeting involved him touching her face, or maybe gripping is the better term, even before he spoke to her. But the more time they spent together, the more it increased too. Not the force, but the frequency of touching. At first, he just casually brushed his fingertips to the ends of her hair, often commenting on how interesting her hairstyle is with longer strands on the front and just really short at the back, exposing her neck. She had gotten used to his flirting attempts already and just shrugged them off. But lately, the simple gesture has turned to him tucking some locks of her hair behind her ear. He usually does these things when they talk about business, and she fights the blush that leaves her cheeks whenever he does that. Deku also made it a habit to just take some strands of her hair from the back of her head. He usually just tugs it a bit, and one day, even asked her if his pulling hurt. He probably clearly had nothing better to do, she dismisses. But one time, she had caught him sniffing it casually. He just smiles at her whines though every time she notices what he does. He also apologizes every time, but would repeat any of those gestures sometime in the future when she lets her guard down again. Recently too, he has been fond of placing his chin on top of her head or her shoulder whenever she is reading some news on the internet or on the newspaper during mornings. He says that he only wants to read to what she is reading. She has been persistent in pushing him away, but lately, she has been failing at doing so and is actually enjoying that feeling of warmth that his body is now emitting when he is just so close. Sometimes, she would be more conscious and would feel his chest pressed to her back, but she would pretend to not notice. She had described his voice as icy cold when they first met, but now that she has been living with him under one roof and has been seeing him every day, that villainous part of him is slowly being erased. His eyes are still as sharp, and there are just times that some darkening is present on his evident eye bags, but he never gave her a look that dismissed her as a person. His eyes that she had described to have an evil glint are looking at her in a different way that she could not put to words anymore. And maybe, his eyes had always looked so beautiful that it is haunting her. Of course, both of them are still villains, but when that occupation of them is not on the table, they just seem to be just any other man and woman. Well, in fact, even when they are in the middle of an important evil plan, Deku still loves to chip in some compliments. Your nose is so cute. It makes me want to pinch it. Yeah, just like that. Deku. She almost screams when his face is so close to her all of a sudden. Was she too distracted that she did not notice him? Or was she too comfortable to be so used to his presence? Good morning, milady. He smiles, grabs her hand, and plants a kiss on the back of her palm oh so casually. Stop that. She really screams at him this time and covers her palm to the hand he had kissed. She does not succeed at keeping her red face from showing, and if a hand could blush, maybe hers already did. Instead of his usual gentle smile, he instead pouts. Ah, why not? I was only greeting you. You can greet me like always. Yes, his usual good morning, milady, without a kiss, that is. Have I mentioned how I really like your blushing face? It makes me want to play with you more. He had mentioned many things like liking her face even on the very first time they met. She figured that hearing that every day would lessen whatever foreign feeling she is feeling, but lately, hearing it does the opposite. It increases this discomfort in her stomach. Ochako thinks that if she brings up their plan, he might just stop making her feel so embarrassed so early in the morning. If you wanna play, maybe we should start talking about our plan against the heroes, she tries. Deku places his cheek on his gloved knuckle, as the raised arm is atop his other crossed arm. But I only want to play with you right now. What? How can he just turn the tables all the time? This is getting frustrating. Just like their very first meeting, she really wants to get that expression off his face. As she tries to fight that embarrassment, he already comes close and pecks her on the cheek. Deku. Yes, that. I really, really love that expression. What a brilliant morning, he smiles again. I think we should stop this. 9. What? She drops her pen. They are a month away from the grand plan they have been building for more than half a year now. This has got to be the biggest catastrophe that the heroes would face, as it is crafted by an evil mastermind, and the master of infiltration, robbery, and escape. What is he saying all of a sudden? I said, we should stop everything. All of these. The confident smile on his face is nowhere to be found, as only a plain stoic expression is on it. His hand is under his chin as she stares at her bewilderment. What are you saying? The question finally leaves her lips, perhaps more intense than she had intended to let it sound. We have 4 more weeks for all these to unfold, and all you have to do is just give the sign. This time, the voice comes with more strength. She thought that she could understand him better now that they have been living together for months now, but the moment he had said that, he seems to be back to that person that she did not know. We should end this partnership. It's a complete waste of time. His stoic expression finally disappears and he finally smiles. But something feels different about it. Yet she would not let the difference get to her when her emotions are all heightened. Why? She asks, now standing up from her seat. She has a lot of things to say. A lot. More than he could imagine. But everything got summed up to one simple word. Why? Oh, I don't know. He looks at his fingers as if inspecting for dirt. Rarely, his hands are bare, not hidden under his white gloves. You just didn't get up to my standards, that's all. Ochako feels something heavy thrown to her. What? What are you talking about? Such a cliché question. Anything else you want to ask? She breathes in deep, then out. Are you saying you don't need me anymore? Right. She is just a pawn. This is just some kind of partnership. Both of them can just toss one another when they choose to. What is she expecting? Just because they started living together, they could be one of those sappy married couples. Yes, I don't need you anymore. This time he stares at her, and as much as she is already used to his smile, seeing it again as he says those words is too painful. She stares at him, fighting the tears. No, she cannot cry. No, she cannot let him know that deep inside her, she has started caring for someone other than herself again. No, she cannot let him know that she has fallen deep already. For him, fine. I'm leaving, she says as coldly as she can, to match that piercing voice of his, and proceeds to stomp out of the room and get all of her things out. When she reaches her room, which will not be hers once she leaves, she lets some tears escape her eye. But she limits it, she cannot explode here. She is lying to herself. Of course, she can read him like a book. Like her, this world has hurt him. He has no quirk and was mocked for it, mocked for wanting to be a hero who can save people to the best of the current him. The hero he idolized told him that someone like him cannot be a hero. And worst of all, that same day, some men broke out of his home and left his mom dead. She used to think that her life is so miserable. But it is not only her who hates this world. It is not only her who got abandoned by this world. So when they found each other, it made it easy to hate this world together and just do a lot of things to take revenge on it. Planning felt so good and fulfilling. It felt good to get back. But it felt better to have someone beside you. And she enjoyed every day of being with him. They allowed loneliness and rage fill both of them for many years, which gave them a sense of purpose, and finding each other seemed to throw away all of those. Different feelings surfaced, ready to replace those anguish came. Feelings that maybe both of them were not ready to face at all, but she thought that it would be fine as long as they are together. She slaps herself, not liking that the pain in her heart is nowhere near that hard slap she has given herself. When did she reduce to this? It was better to be alone. She did not need to be betrayed again. And he did not need her anymore. When she heard those words leave his lips, she felt her heart break to a million pieces. It hurt so much even if he was lying. It hurt more to know that he was lying, yet he still chose to say those words. She is already done being tossed around by the people around her, so she swore to only live for herself. And she did. But when she finally found someone who could understand what real pain is, she thought she could open her heart again for that feeling of loving and trusting. Her heart had softened. Ochako pauses on packing her things when she feels his arms snake around her waist and his forehead touch her bare neck, his hair tickling her skin. I'm sorry. Please, don't go. She hears him sniff in between his words. She feels his hot tears touch her skin and his figure shakes behind her. What? I'm just scared. We should stop all of these. Each word seems to pain him. I don't want to lose you. Not when I finally found you. The fragile, shaking voice feels so foreign, so in contrast with that facade he has brought to himself to show the world. But this is the real him that he has been sheltering all this time. How many years has he kept the tears inside? How long has he protected this him? She drops the clothes in her hands and places that free hand on his head to ruffle his hair. She had always wanted to touch his hair like this. Maybe not the same scenario, but she had always stopped herself whenever she had the urge to. Even if she had opened up to him, she had also limited herself, especially on touching him, reaching him. Okay. She nods. I won't, I promise. She hears him take a sharp breath and his arms hug her tighter, pressing his body to hers, possibly closer. May I know your name? She brings her hands to his and unclasps it from his hold. She feels the warmth of his hands for the very first time, as he had only touched her with his gloves. At first, he tenses at her attempt as if afraid to release her, but she soothes his hands by softly rubbing on it. When he finally loosens, she turns around and faces him, placing her hands, palms on his cheeks, her fingertips brushing a bit on his ears. She feels him flinch a bit under her touch, evidently not used to it. It's Ochako. Ochako Uraraka, she says and stares at his eyes, enjoying the green in them, noticing the red tinge at the corners. Yours. She smiles, the tears she has been stopping from falling, finally succumbing. I'm Izuku. Izuku Midoriya. Nice to meet you, Izuku. She smiles wider. It's nice to meet you too. Ochako, he responds and places his hands on hers. And so softly, his lips curl up, and maybe that is the first ever real smile he has shown her. Izuku wakes up, panting with cold sweat. He looks around and recognizes the room to be his room in the dorms, surrounded by all the All Mights of all sizes. At first, he thinks the blurry vision is only because of the lack of light and because he just woke up, but upon touching his cheeks, he recognizes the wetness to be from his tears. A dream. How many times has he said that after he wakes up, somehow getting the ground of reality, he lets a sigh of relief escape his senses as he massages his temples. For the 6th time this week, he had another dream. But this one is a nightmare. Perhaps one of the worst he ever had in his lifetime. It is almost nauseating. The images of his whole personality change and the reality of that Deku in his dream, it is all unimaginable. Yet it hurt a lot. As if just to remind him that this is his reality right now, he stands, full cowl. He activates his quirk and feels the comfort of releasing that green light around his body. Now having more stable breathing, he sighs again and deactivates it. Izuku changes his clothes just to get out of that sweat-soaked shirt he had on. He proceeds on going down for a glass of water. Ever so gingerly, he goes light on his steps, afraid to wake anyone at such an ungodly hour. When he finally reaches the dining area and quenches the dryness with that line of cold water soothing his throat, he heaves another sigh. After that nightmare, he feels more thankful for the events of his life. Even if he could never accept himself to side with the villains, ever, he still could not shake the reality that villains can be villains because of a lot of things that life can throw at them. Even he is no exception. Though it is never right to do wrong to other people, sometimes, even the kindest hearts can turn corrupt with a lot of things turning bad on their life and he cannot judge them at all. Deku-kun. You Raraka-san. Hey there, I was thirsty. You too, she asks, perhaps noticing the one on his hand. He nods at her and makes way so she could get her glass. When Izuku woke, it is at 2 a.m. and a part of him could not help but think how fate can do a lot of things. Just a while ago he was dreaming about her too and right now she is with him. The real her. Reality can be really great, and he blushes at the thought. Even though he knew that the Deku in his dream is not him, remembering that Deku's interactions with that dream's Ochako greatly reminds of what it feels like to just feel all warm all over. The Deku in there had been so casual in touching and just complimenting. Somehow, he feels jealous and wishes that he could be like that. Not to the point of causing discomfort though. Just perhaps that confidence, rather than the stuttering mess that he is most of the time. Deku-kun, if you ever feel lonely, do tell me, okay? Though he appreciates that, it makes him wonder why she brought it up all of a sudden. Ochako gasps and suddenly waves a hand in front of her. I mean, if you're okay to tell me anyway. I'm sorry, I wasn't forcing you or anything though. Oh no, I really appreciate it, Uraraka-san. If you don't mind then, thank you. At least in this world, he has someone he can rely on. He looks at the equally flushed her, who gulps more water, and just smiles. Really, thank you, Uraraka-san. Where stories live. Discover now.